I'm Jill Hopkins, new media and civic events producer for the Metro, G-Man, and Smart Bar. The Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 is proud to honor March as Women's History Month. We've talked with some of the great women of Illinois music, and they were kind enough to share some of their experiences with us. And now we'd like to share them with you. So celebrate women's history with us from the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66.
You know, Illinois, I was born in Iowa, and I love Iowa, but Illinois was so good to me. Chicago was so good to me. I walk in, I know two people. I mean, it just literally opened up its arms to me. And it's a city that has color, it has soul, it's basically Midwest feel, but yet it's more city kind of Midwest feel. It's just so, to me, it is my home. When I went to Chicago, you could not help but be influenced by root music because it was everywhere. I mean, it was true music, great jazz players, to on Wells Street hearing Buddy Guy and Coco Taylor that would play the clubs. They were playing everywhere on the weekends to hang out with these people. And you couldn't help but be influenced by it if you're an artist. You know, we steal from everything. That's just the way it is.
Make me an angel who flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster from an old rodeo. Just you give me one thing that I can hang on to believe in this living is a hard way to go.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the Englewood community. And those were the years where people were doing doo-wop on the street corners. One of my uncles was in a band, and I went to see them when I was 7 years old. They played at a park, and they had a female vocalist. So I informed them that when you get tired of her, give me a call. I was 7 years old, right? 10 years later, she finally quit the band and they called me. I was a senior in high school and I auditioned and I got the job. I've sung in over 40 countries. They are so appreciative. And I think in America and in Chicago, we take it for granted. And over there, they're just, some of these people spend, they save up their money to go see somebody, or they'll drive for 5 hours to go see somebody. They do not take this music for granted. I grew up in a time where Russia was our enemy. I mean, really our enemy. So I had this negative impression. So when I was offered a gig to go over there, I didn't want to go. And my dad said, you gotta go. And I had a ball. And I went 2 more times. I even went to Siberia 3 times. Siberia. Now that's pretty weird. Siberia. I'll say this about being a blues singer. That blues will take you to strange places. That had to be the strange. Siberia.
I'm from Joliet, and I feel it in my bones. When I was young, I just wanted to get away. I wanted to get to Chicago and LA, and then London and New Orleans. But the golden glow of Joliet's limestone foundations is what I built my life upon. And it made me tough and sturdy and strong. Nowhere other than Chicago and the Mississippi Delta itself has American music, which in my opinion owes its very existence specifically to Black American musicians, flourished to such an astonishing degree. I'd say I'm a rather small part of Illinois music history, but I'm grateful to be a part nonetheless.
You know, I'm the 7th of 9 kids. I just took what got me attention, I think, and just parlayed it right into a career. I started getting gigs around town, and a family friend, Dorothy Danka, submitted my reel-to-reel tape to the WLS in Chicago Big Break Radio Contest. And so I got in the contest. Clark Weber calls my name as first place. And I'm like, what? And it's kind of one of those not in your body moments where you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, first place. I won a recording contract with Mercury Records. That was one of the prizes. And my first recording session was at Universal Studios. And at 14, did I know? Hell no. I had no idea. Oh, Minnie Riperton was one of the background singers. I mean, I'm like, I'm not embarrassed. I'm incredibly grateful. You know, embarrassed has nothing to do with it now. It's like, thank you, God. You know, I have no idea how that happened. It was just grace. The whole thing was just grace.
In this world, it's hard to be different. 'Cause when you are different, try and be the same.
I was always a very spontaneous and confident child. So I would put on little concerts for my family in the living room during holidays. And then I started getting into some musical theater locally. And that was that just kind of really set it off for me, and I fell in love with that whole entertainment industry. So I kind of expanded my range to different TV shows and movies and everything, and essentially used my musical theater training to start writing my own songs when I was 11, and started putting them out, started recording them, doing all that fun stuff, and now I'm here.
And everybody wants to be them, touch them, make you bleed but come back again. And when you get the chance, please run away.
I just want people to be able to feel like they can be true to themselves and be honest, because I think being able to tap into different emotions is something that I've definitely struggled with for a really long time, and kind of getting people to be comfortable with that as well, and just be super this is me, that's dope. So I think it's fun to be able to show those raw different things and just kind of say that you're not alone, because I feel like I've had some random things, stupid little situations that are so meaningless, and I wrote a whole song about them, and but for someone that couldn't be as meaningless. So I think it can be cool to see how people interpret that.
It's all part of their games.
I can't remember a day when music was not on my mind. I really do feel that music was my calling. And I'm so glad that it chose me. So I guess we chose one another, embraced one another. I've always been involved in something musical from growing up in grammar school, high school, college, and from that point on, being involved in different music groups before I actually walked the plank and jumped off the plank into the ocean of doing my own thing, which was really scary initially, especially when you're so accustomed to working in a group situation, and then you're right out front, and it's the light is on you and you have no place to hide if something goes wrong or if you get scared to death. But it's been a really interesting and wonderful journey, I might add, this here thing called music.
I was born in Chicago. I lived in Greektown in the presidential towers for a few years, and then I think I spent most of my life in Oak Park. And River Forest, we moved there after, and then in high school I moved to a little town called Ottawa, Illinois, which is by Stark Rock and everything, which was kind of a culture shock for me, coming from the city and a really diverse place like Oak Park to a town where people kind of have Southern accents for some reason. I've found that, unfortunately, I think a lot of women and I guess girls even are not really taken seriously. When I decided to get guitar lessons, I wanted to learn like how to actually play a guitar. Like I wanted to know how to shred and like do all that stuff. And then my teacher was like, oh, but you're a songwriter, you should just learn how to play songs. And then he would teach me like song structures and like chords and stuff. I'm like, but I already know how to do that anyway. So then I just kind of got discouraged. Seriously started writing music though. It wasn't until after I graduated from college and I decided I wanted to try to make music my actual career. And I think that's when I started being more serious about writing and writing all parts of a song instead of just the vocal part, just lyrics and things like that. When you open yourself up to being empowered by other women, you start to really understand that you can be empowered too.
Chicago is a very grounding period in my life where the classes and the intensity of the way I was studying at DePaul was really what I needed. But of course, as I continued to live in Chicago, I started discovering all of the different types of music, different musicians that were there. I met Preston at this event called Project Manifest with like 15 different sound artists. We set up a jam session. For both of us, it felt like a rebirth. I've never explained it like that, but that's kind of what it felt like for me at least, because I had improvised from around 14 years of age, pretty much until I moved to Chicago, because once I was in that master's program, I was so focused on my classical studies that I put kind of all other types of music on the back burner for a few years. And then it was when I met him that it all just started coming out again, as I like to say, my soul's melodies. So after that, I just started going over there and recording, and we're still doing it.
I will say Illinois will always be my home base because I'm from here. You know, I have my family and my friends here. There's always been something so sort of magnetic about the lake and being on the water. And it's always been this beautiful central point in terms of branching off on different tours. It just always feels like home base to me. Good people, insane weather that seems to really build up character. The fact that you have to shovel out your car in the ways that we have to shovel out our cars, that makes you a stronger person. The fact that we can survive polar vortexes, I really believe that.
I'm staring into your eyes and they are full of fire. I hope I make it out alive. Your grip is strong.
My favorite studio in town, Rax Trax, hands down. Home of the hits, huh? That's their motto. Rick Barnes, the owner, one of the most wonderful human beings. It is not a place that is, in my experience, pretentious or that makes you feel maybe less important if you're not this big artist. Everyone there is very kind. The gear is great. Just good vibes, good energy, and that's important.
Don't wanna give money, yeah.
When I was younger, women, the representation wasn't there. I'll even say as a journalist, being pitched by people for, I think 15 or so years now, I'm interacting more with more women than I did before in the past. So I think it's definitely changing. You look at something like the Pitchfork Festival lineup this past summer, all female headliners. I mean, how amazing is that? Sad it took this long to get there, but the landscape is definitely changing. And I think you have women in music who are really flipping the switch for what they are being recognized for. I think women were categorized as, oh, they're a great singer, right? But no, women can play the crap out of their instruments. And there's a lot of examples of that, of course. And so I think it's definitely getting better. And I think that with various societal movements that it'll keep changing. And I'm just glad to see that there are people who are promoting it to a younger generation. I look at a band like the Linda Lindas, who are just so cool. I mean, what are they, like preteens, and they have the support of, you know, Bikini Kill and Sleater Kinney, and they were working with Amy Poehler on that Netflix show. So I think it's just great to see more people front and center. They're not behind the scenes, but they're able to really provide representation within the industry and show young girls now that it's possible to have a place in this world that so long was dominated by men.
I'm just really interested in music business right now. Like, I just love the fact that there's kids out there, because at middle school, high school, I wasn't thinking about the business side. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be the next Beyonce. But then it came to a point where I was like, I don't want to be the next anything. I want to be the first something, and I want to do it right. I want to understand being on the front line and also performing and also being behind the scenes and knowing where my money's going when, and knowing who has to be where, why, all that stuff. So I think the music business is super complex. And I think there's so many positions people don't even realize, going down to literally the person that caters to the event. So I just think overall the music business has changed so much, especially from just selling records to being on radio shows to having Spotify. Then when like Napster became a thing, like there's so many different steps that I don't think people realize. And I think one of the most exciting things for me is I'm going to get to share that with students once the museum starts that. And starting at a young age is setting yourself up for success.
Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to look out for some new music by some fantastic women from Illinois. For more information, go to roadtorock.org.